you. Thanks for tapping into another episode of Untapped Keg podcast, where we explore different perspectives into sobriety and mental health so that you can take something and implement it into your own life. Here, we believe there's only one right way to sobriety. That's the way that works for you. I'm your host, RJ Zimmerman. I have over 10 years of not drinking, and I'm a This Naked Mind certified alcohol-free life coach. And today, I am very excited to be joined by an alcohol freedom coach who is also This Naked Mind certified and fitness instructor, Kate Nichols. How are you doing today, Kate?
Oh, I'm very well. Thank you, RJ. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you. And it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to just have this conversation and talk about things. And, for those who don't know how the sausage is made, we have some pre-show kind of meetings so that we can find topics and things to go. And you and I we just kept going back and forth. And it was like, I know, like we're at the time where we're going over the scheduled time, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, me too. I'm excited as well.
Awesome. So Kate, for people who don't know you, could you give us a little bit of a background on what brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. I'm Kate. I'm in my late 50s. I'm a mum of two grown-up kids. My daughter's 26, my son's 24. I'm British. I live in Canada. And I was a social worker by profession, but I had to give up that profession when I immigrated to Canada because you can't slot into a profession on a different continent very easily. So I then looked at doing different things, and I've always been very enthusiastic about exercise and fitness. So I started work for a non-profit, and I've been doing that for 10 years now. So I teach exercise to the senior demographic, and so that's not too old, that's 55 and over, so my age group. And people with mental health and disabilities. So I also teach a class for people with Parkinson's and also with dementia. So that's my job, but I am also a alcohol freedom coach or a sobriety coach. I know you through This Naked Mind, RJ, so that's lovely. And we both certified as This Naked Mind coaches. So I started to question my relationship with alcohol seriously 3 years ago, and I've been alcohol free. It will be 3 years this August, so nearly 3 years. Thank you. And I am a little bit unusual in that I didn't have a journey whereby I tried to give up and failed and I hated it. And I haven't got that kind of history. So I am a little bit unusual. I drank from my late teens solidly, apart from when I was pregnant, all the way through to I was 57 when I stopped drinking. And really, for me, I was quite a happy drinker in a way. I loved it. I loved the buzz. I drank to celebrate, but I knew it was out of control. I knew it wasn't good for me. I knew it was damaging my relationships, my family, but I still did it because the desire to do it was greater than the desire to stop. And really, it was during COVID that I realized, when it wasn't easy to get alcohol because we were in lockdown, I realized how desperate I was to be able to buy alcohol. And I went underground, and I really realized I was drinking on my own. And the amount I was drinking, my tolerance was getting higher. I was hiding alcohol. During COVID, I was smuggling into the house. And that wasn't the person I wanted to be. It wasn't how I wanted to show up. So I discovered This Naked Mind, as you did yourself, and that brought me to a place of questioning my relationship with alcohol, really from a conscious point of view. And then I decided, after failing to moderate for about 6 to 8 weeks, that I would withdraw alcohol altogether from my life. So that's just a bit of background.
Yeah. And you mentioned that it wasn't who you wanted to be.
Hmm.
What was that realization where all of a sudden you were like, is this who I want to be? And you were honest with yourself and had that no. What was it leading up to that that had you ask that question? And then what was it like when you were honest with yourself?
Oh yeah, that's a great question, because I was deceitful, I lied, I put alcohol before my family. Um, just the deceit and lies, I think, more than anything. And I'm not that person. And I now know I'm
Mm-hmm.
not that person, because I'm not that person now. And I don't have those qualities. But alcohol had become so important to me, almost to the point, I believed, of survival. Almost like I couldn't imagine going out without it. I couldn't imagine enjoying myself without it. Couldn't imagine getting through a weekend without it, because it was my big treat. But it was more than that. And I think it was um, realizing that I was really compromising who I was and with my family. And I'll just tell you something very quick, because it really was a turning point for me. It was my grown-up daughter, who was around 24 at the time, 23. She hated it. She used to see me drunk. She wouldn't want to bring her friends round, and she couldn't understand why I was drinking when they disliked it so much. And she said, "Can you get help?" And I said, "Well, it's not that bad, it's fine." And she said to me, quote, she said, "You love alcohol more than us." And I said, "Well, don't be silly. Of course I don't." But in a funny sort of way, I realized at that moment that I kind of did. And that was horrible for me, because it was actually saying that alcohol was more important to me than my family, who was everything to me. And that was very near when I decided to really reevaluate my relationship with it, for sure. Yeah.
And when you have those conversations and you start to realize how alcohol has started to not just impact your family, but who you are as a person, like that can be so devastating. And that is when you recognize it, you're honest with yourself about the effects of it, and you start to evaluate your relationship. It can be, um, you know, it really can be that moment where all of a sudden you start to question just the quality of person that you are.
Mm.
Um, do you feel like you question that about yourself when you had that conversation? And
Yeah. Yeah. I question myself as a mother, as a parent. When we have children, we're entrusted with their health and their
Mhm,
well-being. And there I was, scrambling around, trying to get my drinks,
right.
um, even knowing how much my family hated it. And I mean, I did get away with it a lot of the time, because I was very good at kind of being deceptive, because I had a lot of practice. Um, and I really, really, really disliked that person, because it was everything I stood against. I stand for decency. I stand for caring for people and caring for people's well-being. And I was actually behaving in a way that was detrimental. I said, "It's not a problem, I'm fine." And it was a problem. And still I would go and drink. And she would say to me, "But how can I trust you? How, the trust, how can I have you at my wedding?" She even said. She's not married yet, but she might be soon. And that hit home as well. It was like she was actually asking me this, but she had a point. I mean, how did she know how I was going to turn up? Because
Mm.
in my drinking days, I would be drinking before any event. I'd always find a reason to. And so these were her concerns, and she was asking her mum this. which I found very tragic and very, very sad. And especially looking back on it, I try not to beat myself up because I was doing the best I could with the tools I had. But I look back on it and I think, wow, how deep was I in this? It
Yeah.
really did. It really was taking its toll, seriously. So yeah, just
And now
glad to
that
be on the other side.
absolutely, and that's what I was gonna say is now that you're 3 years,
Mhm.
all coming up on. Do you say you're coming up on 3 or coming up on 4?
No, 3. It will be 3 years in
Yeah.
August, nearly
So
next month. Yeah.
now that you're 3 years and you look at who you are right now, how close are you to say that I am the person that I want to be? Like, are you there right now? And how different does that feel compared to 3 years ago?
Mm. Yeah, I'd say, I'd actually go as far as to say I love the person I am now. I embarked on a journey of not just sobriety, but a journey of self-development, a journey of self-worth, a journey of discovery. And, I had a good job when I was younger, but my job now is so fulfilling because being an alcohol freedom coach, I help other people who are traveling the journey that I traveled. So I really love the person I am. I also love the fact that my energy levels are high. I'm well, touch wood. I'm very, very grateful for my health. Um, I'm present. I'm enthusiastic. My job as a fitness instructor was so compromised in my drinking days. I was nauseous, hungover a lot of the time, trying to teach in front of people. And I was like, was dehydrated. I was probably dripping. Must have looked awful, red faced. And now my energy levels are naturally high. I wake up, I get up at 5:36 in the morning, whereas before I got up literally and ran out to work at 9, I love my mornings. I sleep well. Um, my health is so much better. I had inflammatory skin conditions like psoriasis and rosacea, both cleared up within 3 months of me removing alcohol from my life. And my blood pressure went back to normal. So I love those three things, citing those three things, that it was evidence with the timing that they got better because of withdrawing, with taking alcohol out of the equation, because they're inflammatory diseases and blood pressures,
Yeah.
hypertension. I was on edge. But that was the alcohol in my system. The toxins and the depressant nature of alcohol. So yeah, I'm so much happier. There's a saying that the gifts keep coming, and they really truly do. They just keep coming.
Hmm.
And when I first took alcohol out of my life, I thought, oh, I was scared. Would I feel deprived? Would I feel like I'm missing out? And there is that period maybe that some of us go through, some of us don't, where we have to apply a bit of willpower maybe to get through the first part. But then when you start to get it, you build momentum and you invest in yourself and you start to reap the rewards, then you're able to come out the other side and realize this is a much better way of living. This is the way I was designed to live. I was designed to be in balance, homeostasis. We all are. We're born this way. We're born to keep our temperature a certain way. We're born, and when we're not fighting the poison in our system, we thrive and we look after ourselves. So yeah, I am a different person, and I'm a lot more confident. I give back, and my relationship with my grown-up kids and my husband, oh my gosh, they are so proud of me. And my daughter, she writes me cards on Mother's Day. I tear up. She says, I'm so proud of you, Mum. I just am so proud of the woman that you've become. It took me a long time, and it all came about because of withdrawing out, taking alcohol out of my life. Yeah.
And it's so incredible to be able to start the conversation off where we did, and now to
Mm.
hear you especially finish up where you just did it, just hearing those different sides. And I think people know that that is possible, but they're like, well, could it be me? Because I don't know what any of that feels like. So if I don't know what it feels like, I don't know if I can ever reach to that. But it really is about, okay, but what if you can? Instead of the
Mm,
fear holding you back, if I'm ever going to reach it, what if it's okay, I don't know if I can reach it, but what if I can? And if I don't reach it, what if I get close to that? Right? Is that enough? And that's something that on my own journey, just recognizing, you mentioned the self worth and recognizing of how low of self worth I had. I didn't just have no self worth, I had a negative self worth. And now where it is, and it's so disparate that I didn't even realize it was possible. And I love how you said it's not just that journey of your relationship with alcohol, but that self discovery, right? And like building that self worth and really looking into who you are.
mm.
What At what point did you really start to transform from the alcohol to that journey of self discovery, so that now when you talk about yourself and where you're at, you get so excited and
Mm.
enthused to be able to talk about just the kind of person that you are? When did it shift, or was there a moment that you remember it shifting?
I don't remember an exact moment. I think it coincided with my decision. So I did courses with This Naked Mind. Um, and I was actually alcohol free when I did these courses. There's a course called The Path, which I did, and I
Hmm.
was probably one of the very few that was alcohol free from the beginning. I knew I wanted to become a coach. I would study the coaches, making notes because I knew I wanted to. And I think the real change, the phenomenal change, came about when I being a social worker, and I was always the one to help people. Knowing I wanted to become a coach was an important time for me. And I think probably a year into being alcohol free, I realized I wanted to play it forward so that I could help other people. But then, like, it was things like, and when we had our pre-chat, I talked about how I love to travel, and I met my husband in Australia, and we're empty nesters. We do long haul traveling. We've recently been to Cambodia and Vietnam and the Galapagos and the Amazon, and I call them my sort of alcohol freedom holidays experiences, because I would have not been well enough to fully enjoy getting up in Cambodia and watching the sunrise, as with the temples in the background, and to experience life without being compromised at all, is so special for me, and I'm grateful for it. I'm so appreciative of it, and I'm so pleased that I made that decision 3 years ago to take alcohol out, because I wouldn't be living the life I am now. So I can't give you an exact time. I think it
Hmm.
evolved with the coaching and with the traveling. My poor
Hmm.
husband still does drink, and quite early on we went to Ireland, and we used to love going to pubs and drinking Guinness, and he still wanted to do that, and I had to say, in terms of boundaries and self-preservation, I had to say, look, I can't go on these holidays. I don't really want to go on these holidays anymore. I respect that you do, but I don't really want to sit in a pub, with you all night when I've been with you all day. No disrespect, but and so he was so good, because he supports me so much, that it was then that we made the decision that we would change the kind of holidays we have. And because we met in Australia, and we went to Southeast Asia, we still have that love of having these experiences of really seeing that part of the world culturally. So
Hmm.
really love and I do believe that's come about in all its glory because of how I live now. So I did want to mention that, but it's just such
Absolutely.
a wonderful way of living, and as a coach, I'm so passionate about it with my clients that they say, I really believe you. I really believe you, because I'm saying, yeah, it's so true. It's so true. This is so good, this way of living, without sounding sanctimonious or told you, I'm telling you what to do, just trying to reflect how I feel onto them if I can, for them to
Yeah,
make their own self-discovery themselves, take that leap of faith if they
absolutely.
can. Yeah.
And I love how you talked about the traveling and how
Mm.
it's shifted since you stopped drinking. What has been your favorite part of that shift now that you're traveling so much, being alcohol free?
Um, I just think feeling so well. I'm getting older, but I feel so well. And I'm also coupled with my fitness as well. I mean, I always did exercise and I had my exercise job, but now, this morning I do a weekly 5K run, the park run, the fun park run. I do it that's something my husband and I do. And being able to do that on a Saturday morning at
Mhm.
9 o'clock. Well, in my drinking days, Friday night was my big drinking night. And you'd be lucky if I saw morning time, whereas now I'm out at the park, at 8:30, chatting to people and, just enjoying the lovely morning. And it's in a park with a lake. And I just feel, wow, this is so cool to be doing this. So it's just endless. It's endless. And also, I don't know if you find, RJ, just I know you're a dad as well, but your energy with your children and just
Mhm.
being able to enjoy them and feel on a level with them. Whereas when you're hungover and you see them pure, don't you? They're pure and untarnished. Whereas we're going, oh my God, headache, or when can I have my next drink? And I feel better when it almost takes you back to childhood, I think, in a way.
Yeah, the energy level and just being able to experience the moments with them, right? It really does. It
Mm,
does take me back to childhood when I'm parenting them. And I've talked before, and maybe has been on coaching calls, but where sometimes, like when my kids are really upset, and I look at them, and all of a sudden I see myself in them, and it's like my question is, what would I need at that age?
mm,
What did I need at that age? And that
yeah.
reflects, or not just reflects, but like it gives me that path of where to go with parenting. Because if you're listening to this and you want to have kids, you don't have kids yet, the truth is nobody knows what the fuck they're doing as parents. Like, I'll say the quiet part out loud. You really don't just get to this point where I understand it all. It's you try stuff and it either works or it doesn't, and then you kind of adapt to it and things like that. And so that informing what I do in those moments is, what did I need as a kid in this moment? I see myself like being upset, needing that hug, needing someone to say, you know what? I know this isn't what you want. And that's okay. You get to express, your emotions. You get to be emotional. Come here and get a hug. But you're still not going to get what you want. It's not happening. Right. And that's something that is healing as well. That's a part of that self-discovery process. And um, it is available if you can take some of those blinders off that could look like things that you don't necessarily want to be truthful about. And that's
Hmm.
where you telling your story and sharing a lot of this, whether it was traveling and having that honest conversation with your husband of, I don't want to go on these holidays. These are not the kind of things that I want to do anymore. And then you look and you start to figure out new ways to do that, new ways of showing up with your kids, being honest with yourself about, alcohol is taking a lot from me. I need to
Yeah.
change my relationship with alcohol. Like all of these things, if you're willing to embrace that honesty and lean into that, what if I'm doing things that I don't actually like doing? I'm just doing them because I'm used to doing them.
Mm,
And
I
that
know.
mindset can be a
Yeah.
change, right?
Mm. I love everything you've just said that up there, RJ. I love everything you've just said. It's about awareness and getting in touch with your emotions and
Mm.
being aware, like, saying that you look at your kids and you think, because you have that level of consciousness now to be aware, what do they need from me now as their dad? How can I step up now and be the best version of myself? Because we're coming from a place of wellness ourselves, and we can see and be perceptive of what your children, who are the most important thing. Oh my gosh. And your kids are a lot younger than mine. um you've got those years, what a gift, with them. And also, when we do remove alcohol, which we know, you and I as coaches, that we become quite raw. The emotions, they bubble
Yes.
up, and things that we've been numbing, things we've been avoiding for sometimes decades. And sometimes we remove the alcohol and we have to tackle those emotions. And that's when we have to be very gentle, and we have to apply self-care and boundaries. Like with my husband, I had to say, look, I need to self-preserve here. This has to change. Support me, please.
Hmm.
And so, just being able, and you've got me thinking here about how to navigate those new emotions that were there, but they were suppressed. And I think that's what hurt me so much when my daughter said what she said, because I was a drinker when my kids were growing up. Now they've forgiven me, and I have precious time with them now and a great relationship with them now. But a little part of me is unfortunate. I didn't change earlier, maybe, but I can't undo that. That's done. But the thing is, when you do become your authentic self, you're perceptive to what other people need, and I can just keep giving, keep giving, keep giving. And even though my kids are grown up now, they still need me in ways. They come to me for things, and I
Yes.
can be there for them. you know my daughter can ring me at 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, whereas before she'd have got drunk mum on the phone. Now I can say, oh, come on honey, I know how you feel, and let's talk about it. And isn't that lovely, that we can be there for them in that way, no matter how old they are. What a gift.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
And what you're well, like from your story that you're sharing, taking away from that, that it's never too late to have that relationship with them, even though we might think that, yes, like there's going to be some regrets, and that's not unhealthy, right? Having
Mm.
regrets is a part of living, it's a part of
Yes.
making choices and decisions. And that's okay. It's when you get fixated on it and you want to change the past that it becomes
Mm.
the unhealthy regrets. And you just showing just how, just through your living your life now and sharing your story, how it's not too late and you can have that relationship with them. It's just
Mm.
proof, right? It's proof that, okay,
Mm.
I want
Mm.
different. I have to do different.
Mm.
And what that looks like is what it looks like. And just
Mm.
it's such a gift that you give to your family, right? But you also are giving it to yourself.
Yeah, spot on. You are, because we feel good when we reap the rewards, and we see that we can have this influence over people. We can make them happy. We can give, support them, and then they give back. And what's been incredible for me is that my grown-up kids, they were old enough to understand the journey I was going on, because they couldn't understand before I explained to them how I was trapped. My relationship with alcohol, I didn't choose it, I was trapped. And now, because of our learning, how we've been trained, we understand now that we fell prey to an addictive substance. It's not our fault, but it is our responsibility. This is what we say, isn't it? And I was
Yes.
able to explain that to my grown-up kids, and they understand now that I wasn't doing it to hurt them. I just didn't know how to change. And they are so great, and they now are my biggest allies. Oh my gosh, they support me. My son helps me with my business, and we just have the most wonderful unit. And it's all come about with me deciding to take alcohol out of my life. So anyone listening, I really, oh my gosh, it's like, you said at the beginning, if even if you feel you can't reach there or you don't quite, give it a go. Give it a go. And because what's the saying? Change comes on the other side of awareness. You have to have awareness,
Yes.
and then you can. That's the catalyst for change, and then you can move forward. And then being curious and all those things we say, you can then just strive forward with the right mindset, the positive, nice, mindset that this is what I
Mm,
want. Um, just talking to you on a Saturday night, how cool's that?
right. And it's not just talking, but especially with what you said about like doing that self-discovery and leading to that self-honesty, like not just having a conversation, but having a deep one where
Mm,
we're connecting on a level that when I was drinking, there was no way I was reaching this. Even, I'm not going to lie, 6 years after I stopped drinking, 7 years after I stopped drinking, I was not reaching this level. It's what you do after drinking, and then you yearn for that connection. And this is the connection that we yearn for, but we don't understand that like it's there and it's possible, or how to even get there. And it is through that self-discovery journey. It is through, you've mentioned this a few times, embracing that authenticity. Like
mm,
when you are your authentic self and you connect with somebody on that authentic level, it's just so fulfilling and connecting, right?
mm,
And
mm.
it's one of those things that's where, as a parent, and you've alluded to this too, that like connecting with them and that quality time now, it just allows that healing to happen at a faster pace than you realize.
Mm.
And it
Yeah.
really is beautiful.
And I think as human beings, we have great capacity for forgiveness, great
Mm,
capacity for honesty. And I mean, we want harmony, don't we, in our lives? We want harmony.
yes.
Um, and the, especially in my case, there was always a lot of love there. It was just hard to show. It was hard to show when something else was in the mix, stopping me from really giving wholeheartedly. And I now see that alcohol was that thing, it was the barrier keeping me stuck. Because back to your first question, I was always I always had the capacity to be this person. I just was caged. I just was, because alcohol would keep pulling me back, pulling me back. Come on, you want to drink. You know you want that drink. Come on, have a drink. That will make you feel this and make you feel that. And now that I've shut the door to it, I don't need it. It has no control over me. It's a wonderful place to be at, because then you can just, it doesn't matter to me what day it is, or I can drive somewhere, I can be somewhere, I can know that I'm going to be good at 6 in the morning or talking to you at 8 at night on a Saturday night. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter, because you're always grateful as well for being able to, with our health and that, but to be able to be at our optimal best ourselves. And I was going to say something about it, but it's lost through me. But I just think how, yeah, gratitude. Oh, I was going to say about asking for help as well. That's another thing. And I don't know about you, RJ, but I find myself asking people for help, along the way, and just reaching out to you and asking you, could I come and be with you? I didn't even know you really, but I knew we had this, obviously we were in the same cohort, but and you welcomed me, and of course I can, let's have a chat, let's see what we can talk about. And that was so lovely, to connect with you, knowing that we've got this arena in common, and we're also parents, and it's just a privilege, to hang out with you, really.
I appreciate that. And it feels the same way of being able to, connect with you, and how, we wouldn't have met had it not been for going through certification and um, wanting to really help people and be there for others. And it's funny, you're talking about reaching out for help and reaching out, for support and things like that. And how often, is that H word, that 4-letter word, I can't use that. I can't say that because of such and such reason. And I'm still guilty of it taking a lot of buildup for me to be able to reach out to others, even though I know they care. I know they'll
Mm.
be there. I know they'll show up. And it still takes a lot. And a lot of that is that learned behavior that, okay, I learned this at some point. Is it benefiting me?
Yeah, yeah, I know. And now you're making me think about being vulnerable. And that's so
Mm,
linked to being asking for help, isn't it? And I
yes.
love the saying that I think it's probably Brené Brown who says that the only person who's being vulnerable, I think I may have said this to you when we met last time, but is the person who's being vulnerable. They care because they care about their pride or showing up, looking weak, because that's what we're telling ourselves, isn't it? If we cry, we're weak, but we're not. And what do other people love? People love seeing vulnerable people or being with people that are vulnerable because it it proves that they care, they're human. And I I just am so moved by people who show their emotions. I'm very moved by it, and I give them my attention because they're special, because they're capable of of getting to that level of emotion without being guarded or caged. But it takes doing, like you say, it does. It takes doing. And I think the more that you're given positive reassurance that we're okay to open
Mm,
up, we're okay to say how we feel, we're okay to admit that we're this way or that way, because we all have things, don't we? Baggage or whatever you want to call it. Um, and it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
it is. And that that is such a difficult process of recognizing, like what you're talking about, of opening yourself up to the pain and knowing I'll be okay either way, whether this works out or it doesn't. But those first few times, I know for me, I was sweating, I was shaking, I don't know how this is going to go. And the first few times that I did it, I was met with not good responses. Like I was met with what I feared. But the thing was with that was it didn't feel as bad as I thought it would when I was met
Mm.
with that. And not just that, but fortunately, this is one of those fortunately moments. I'm a stubborn son of a bitch. So even though I was met with that not so great, like with my worst fears actually happening, I still showed up. And I was like,
Mm.
I had that understanding of it's not the fact that I shared my emotions, right? It was the fact that the person on the other side couldn't hear them, couldn't,
Mm.
wasn't in a space to be able to do anything with them or even understand, try to understand, have curiosity to understand
Mm.
what it was and where it was coming from. And so just noticing, like, yeah, you know what? That did not go the way that even I had hoped. It went the way that I worst feared, but recognizing that even though it went to that fear, it wasn't, the reaction that I had wasn't as bad as I thought it was, even though that was going to be
Mm.
there. So just having that reassurance of when you're brave and you're authentic and you just step into it, you feel so much better about yourself and with
Mhm.
yourself than you realize, no matter what the outcome is.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, no, I agree. If you're met with resistance, but isn't this part of the self-development, part of the growth?
Yes.
And I love listening to what you're saying, because even though you were met with resistance, you didn't give up. You didn't cave in. You carried on, and we know ourselves with our coaching that we can't control other people. We can't control how other people respond or react. We can only control how we respond. And I love that because I get knocked back. And especially since I've been on this journey as a new coach, and people knocking me back, being let down, and each time I say to myself, I have good intention. I believe in myself. I believe in what I'm doing. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going for me. I deserve this because I've worked hard at this, but also I know I'm showing up with good intention. So if somebody says something or puts up barriers towards me, I just try and remember that that's their free will. That's they can do what they want to do, but I'm keeping true to my essence of what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to help people in the only way I can. So I love that you keep going. And don't we get stronger and stronger, and we get better in our communication as well. And I think that in time, we shine through, and the people that matter notice. The people that matter
Yes.
will see you for who you are, and they will accept you with open arms. I think most of the time, if you show up, again, that word authentically, because what you see is what you get. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mm. Mm.
And that really, what you just said, that doesn't mean, there's not pain, because sometimes the people that we want to be the ones who accept us and allow us to show up and things like that, they're not the people that we can around. And so accepting that, just because we
Mm.
want it doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be. And so, that's really the piece of letting go of it may not be who you want it to be, whether that be a sibling or a partner or, an ex or a friend or things like that. It may not be those people.
Mm.
And that's hard. And I'm
Yeah.
talking, I'm talking as a divorced dad here, where it is really hard. And I went through that.
Mm.
I went through that without drinking. And
Mm.
there are so many moments where it would have been nice to not feel. And I get it.
Mm.
I get it. But you know what I benefited from? Feeling
Mm.
all of those. And the reason is, now I really can enjoy going to the sunrise and just watching that and just feeling everything that comes into my body with that, and knowing that pain, that just absolute excruciating pain that's there, and I can contrast it with that feeling at those sunrise. And like on Father's Day, which was a few weeks ago, um going to the sunrise with my kids especially, and they wanted to do it. They didn't I
Mm.
don't I'm very sure they didn't know that they're 6 and 4. There's no way they knew it was Father's Day, but they asked, I want to go to the sunrise with you on Father. And I'm like, okay, like this is just what they want to do. And there's dolphins that come by sometimes, so that's usually why they
Oh.
want to go. um I would say most of the time there's dolphins that come by, but we didn't see any on that day. But just how, when I'm there and I can let go and I can contrast to that pain that I felt, and then where I am now, even though
Mm.
it's not necessarily where I want to be or where I'm moving towards, I'm showing up as the person that I
Mm.
want to be. And that is the difference, right? And that is going through that pain and being able to, that valley was deep. It was deep and it was dark and it was painful. But that
Mm.
mountaintop is just, it's the opposite. And you really do get to feel, unless you feel that pain, you will never know what that mountaintop truly feels like. And as much as
Yeah.
it sucks to feel that pain, and I get it, and you're going through it, and this is one of the most infuriating things that you're going to hear, and I understand. But once you keep moving and it's through it, it's not over it, it's not under it, it's not around, it's through it. Once you
Mm.
get through it, and that doesn't mean you have to go alone, you can have somebody walking with you, right? It just feels so, you just get to experience life, right? in a
Yeah.
different way.
Yeah, I love that, because I really do love everything you've just said there, because I do think sometimes to really appreciate the highs and the moments, you have to have experienced the lows. And
Mm,
whilst I feel for you what you went through as a divorced father, um, at the end of the day, we have to have respect to let go. We have to. Um, as painful as it is, when we love, we respect, and respect that. But that's, our life is not over. We carry on. And you have your two boys out of that relationship, and you're a great dad. And I'm going to cry in a minute. And, but to appreciate the sunrise and the sunset, and I mentioned my traveling as well. They are the most phenomenal things, and your kids chose to do that with dad. Um, and to me, that's a memory you'll carry with you forever.
mhm,
And that they wanted to hang out with you, um, and for you to be present and to appreciate it in all its fullness and beauty at the time. I bet if you're anything like me, sometimes I pinch myself and I say, I'm actually feeling this now. I'm feeling this now. This is now. This is now. This is happening now. I'm going to remember this, but this is now. And I think that's another gift of being alcohol free, is that you can really feel the highs. Yes, you feel the lows. You can be raw, but you feel the highs and you belly laugh. Sometimes you laugh. And I had an experience with my son. He's a marathon runner. He's 24, and I think I was probably just a year alcohol free. And we, as a family, we went to see him run a marathon in Toronto, near Toronto, where I live. And I can remember he was looking for a time around 3 hours, and is he going to make it? Isn't he going to make it? Is he going to make it? And his dad and we were like praying that he was going to make it. And then we lost track of him. We couldn't track him anymore. And it's, oh, something's happened. And then you find him again on the tracker, and he's all right. He's coming around the corner. And because I was newer to being alcohol free, I remember feeling, I am experiencing this in all of it, how I'm meant to feel it in the now. And afterwards, they all wanted to go to the pub, and I was like, alcohol was the last thing on my mind, because I'd had such an experience, and that was one of the moments. Going back to your question a little bit, that I thought, yeah, now I'm alive. Now I'm living how I'm designed to live. I don't need a drug or an artificial substance to give me my excitement. I've experienced that without a hangover, without any compromise, how it's meant to be felt as a proud mom. And it was, so I know exactly what you mean. And I also know how sometimes to feel the lows, you appreciate the highs. Sorry, we keep talking here, don't we?
no, this is really good, because it really is explaining the journey to people, and giving them that understanding, especially that it is a journey. It's not just like that destination, and it's not just that magic bullet, that magic pill, that now that one thing is going to make it all everything, right? There are so many different layers and so many things. And giving people hope, if they're going through it right now, that there is another side, right? There is an other side. And it's tough to keep that hope sometimes, but there really is another side. And that's something I really hope people take from this. And Kate, as we're kind of wrapping this up, and we're bringing the episode in for the landing, um, what would you like people to take away from this episode?
Well, I think what you've just said to a large point, that for someone who didn't really question their relationship with alcohol till I was in my later 50s, that it's never too late. Um, Change is always possible. And I think forgiveness is huge. Self, um, you are worthy. You
Mm,
are important. You are worthy. Never let anybody tell you otherwise. You are special, and you deserve um, to live the way you want to live. And I would just say, take that leap of faith. If you're scared, that's fine. It is fine. But if you don't try and step over to the other side, you'll never know,
mm.
you know. And curiosity, isn't it? We always say awareness, curiosity, and self-compassion. They're my three things I always say to people, because I think that sums it all up. Awareness, and then we have to care, self-care, but curiosity, creativity, and there's always, like, think of the other side. There's another side. So that
I
was a
love
bit of a
that.
long-winded.
I love that. No, that's really great. It is. And it gives people that, the different ways to be able to look at it, that awareness, the curiosity, the creativity, and how that really can send you on the journey in a way that you didn't even realize was possible. So, Kate, if people want to keep up with you, what's the best way they could do that?
Well, my website is probably the best way, and it's Freedom Effect, and that is affect. People call it effect, but it's AFFECT. So Freedom Effect. And then all my social medias are on there. Um, I'm pretty active on Instagram, but yeah, really, that would be the route. And yeah, I would love anybody to reach out to me in any
Mm,
capacity.
yes. Yeah. Reach out to Kate, give her a follow on Instagram, and let her know how awesome she is, because this conversation has been just absolutely delightful. Um,
Oh,
and for those of you who are new, this is the Untapped Keg podcast. Hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, 1 star, 5 star, any review is welcome. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know what you would like me to bring Kate back on to talk about, because there's so many topics that we could have gone deeper on, that we're definitely going to have another episode. And share this with somebody that would benefit from it, because I know that there's somebody out there that you could share this with who would take something away that would maybe start their own journey. Um, so I appreciate everybody tuning in. Let's try to be better tomorrow than we were today, because at least we don't make it, we tried. Have a great week, everybody. I love you.
thank you.